now is when the eyes glaze over. So the fact that people are still looking at me and not their phones is really encouraging. So Andersen Windows, who are we? Well, Andersen Windows is North America's largest window and patio door manufacturer. Right? We've been around for over 100 years driving innovation in the marketplace. That started off with something as simplistic as, at the turn of the 20th century, so about 1900, there and about, right? When you built a house, someone would come in and put windows in a house. They'd build a frame in the wall. They'd build sashes right there. They'd put them there. We were the first company to figure out that, hey, you know, we could pre-size, pre-bundle all this stuff together, and now a person just has to build a frame on the job site and install it in. Huge time savings, right? And it went on from there and there, where we have a number of patents and other things around in the world. But what that also means is that if we think about windows and patio doors, they have a working life cycle of about 20 to 50 years. So we are getting phone calls today about windows that we manufactured in 1970. We're getting phone calls today about windows that we manufactured 3 years ago. So when you think about all of the stuff that we have out in the world today, being able to identify it, to work with it, and to help our customers make changes to it is really important. And over the years, right, we've developed through internal growth and through acquisition, really a set of good, better, best, in the opposite order of what's on my screen here, right, of product options that are out there. And inside of those, they have similar windows, but the nuances of all those windows are different, right? So each of them has a double hung. I'm not going to get into too many of the technical terms, but they're all there, and you have to be able to understand it. So why eGain, right? Well, eGain gives us multiple paths to help meet our customer needs from a post-sales consumer support side of the world, right? And as we talked about, I have 20 to 50 years of working life product out there. And so people come in, and one of the ways that we help them figure out what's going on is we walk them through picture-based navigation. It's one of the fastest ways to remove out the questions. Do you see this? Do you not see that? Is it this color or is it something else? But not everything needs picture-based navigation, right? It's about serving up the right thing at the right time. So we also have in there topic-based navigation, right? I want to understand how to clean this. I want to understand how to adjust that. And we allow people to come in and search. Also for us, eGain represents a cloud-based deployment, right, which was very helpful for us because it helps minimize our internal IT time. And for a lot of us out there, when you have to go down the hallway and visit IT, it's an automatic delay in deploy, right? There's resource and time constraints there. Along with that, though, we're partnering with a market leader. So that gives us the confidence in knowing that what we deliver today, we'll be able to continue to deliver going down the road, because eGain will continue to be there to help support us. With eGain, we also have profiling, so we can make sure that we have content that we're serving up to the right people that is meaningful and relevant to them, right? It helps manage our security. It helps manage the content that people can get to. And on the eGain side of life, right, they've been around doing this for a long time. John just said he's been up here 20 years of tenure, I think is what John said. And the marketplace has changed in huge ways in that 20 years, I think John would tell you, right? Partnership and innovation with eGain means that it's not just about what they were able to deliver 3 years ago for us. It's also about what they've got coming down in the future that we may not even understand that we need yet. So customers do have hopes and expectations, right? And so what we have here is a garden variety LCD TV versus a mid-brand window. They're about $500 each when you go to the store. But I would argue with you that the expectation of life that you're going to get out of that LCD TV is much different than your expectation on that window, right? LCD TV, 3 to 5 years working life is what we probably expect. We hope for a decade, and we're really happy when it happens. But I would say when that window fails, or I'm sorry, when the TV fails or gives you trouble in 5 years, you might go online. You might look to see if there's something that you can do to it. But I would bet most of you don't expect to find much assistance out there. And that TV is going to find its way to the trash can or the recycle bin. On the Windows side of life, that window starts having issues at 25 years old, most of us aren't going to walk over to it, pull it out of the house, and just put in something new, right? We want to see what can we do to get more life out of that window? How can we make it better than maybe it was before? Maybe more energy efficient because it was 35 years old. Or what happens when your kid decides to put the rock through the glass mowing the grass? And I guarantee you it happens. You're still not going to take it out of the hole. And so we get contacts, and we get it in our traditional call centers that we have for a very long time, but we do have people who want to engage with us through the web. So what do those expectations translate into? In a given year, we take about 800,000 post-sales warranty service phone calls at our call centers. And what that means is that when I get on the phone today, we might talk about something from 1975. When I hang up that phone, we're going to talk about, and pick up the next call, we're going to talk about something from 2005. And it can vary across the entire product portfolio. And that's where being able to access that knowledge quickly and efficiently is so critical to us. Because we are in the millwork industry, there's a reality that our business is cyclical. Most of us aren't looking to fix our patio doors and windows in January, right? It's cold outside. No one's going to open up their house. So that gives us the ability also to flex our workforce so that in the winter months we're able to flex it down to where we need it to be. And in the summer months we're able to flex it up. And part of the reason we're able to flex to that degree is because the knowledge is centralized, it's accessible, and it's meaningful and relevant when it's at time. And when you're flexing to that side of the workforce, I think most of us would agree that when I call in and talk to someone, I want to feel like I'm talking to an expert. I want to feel like I'm talking to the person who's been there for 15 years and knows everything about Windows, not the person who's been there for 3 months. How do you create confidence on the other side of the phone? How do you reassure the customer that what you're telling them is the right answer the first time? Because when you don't, they will call back. When we look at it from the web self-service side of life, right, that content needs to be accessible 24/7. Anytime that I'm having an issue, whether or not the call center is open. But not only do I need to be able to get to that content needs to be digestible. I need to be able to take it in and understand what does it mean to me? How do I take action where I need to take action? And how do I do things right the first time? And then the other thing is that content needs to be increasingly relevant on both the PC and mobile platforms. My group hates my phone. They hate my phone because every time they deploy an upgraded solution on the consumer web self-service, I take my phone out and I see what it looks like. Because I recognize that myself, like many others, my phone is what drives me at best to the PC when I'm having an issue in the kitchen. My PC never drives me to my mobile device. And so if I'm struggling to get what I need through my phone and I don't think it's going to get any better on the PC, I'm going to abandon out that solution and I'm going to call. I keep hitting the laser button today, so if I blind someone, I really apologize about that. So I have a little formula here that I like to talk about, where time and knowledge both impact the customer experience. And that's true in a lot of organizations, and to a degree, it's still true at Andersen Windows. So 3 times T. T can represent time, it can represent tenure, any concept that you want to put in there. And the reality is when your knowledge is fragmented, it's spread out across all of these different areas, and you have these local, regionalized experts that have to kind of coach and mentor up your people. Tenure has a huge impact on your customer experience. It is what takes confidence away from the person on the phone helping someone. When they insert in those words like should, could, maybe, let me check on that and put you on hold for a few minutes. These are all issues, right, that customers don't want to feel. And so with eGain and serving up that knowledge, we're trying to figure out how to remove time from that equation so that 3 times T does not equal CXP, but it's not equal to the customer experience. Because at the end of the day, weeks, months, and years for agent tenure, no customer cares about. So knowledge management, it is all about making knowledge accessible to the team. And so what we have here is we have the, I don't remember which atom I picked, but we have little atom symbols right here sitting over top of 3 different teams, 3 different individuals, right? These individuals really represent those people who have all of that knowledge, that core understanding of what's going on in that team, that product understanding and everything else. And what we're actively trying to do is figure out how do we move that away from the single individual contributor. How do we take it in? How do we consume it? How do we ingest it? And how do we transform it into something that the entire team can work with so that they all have it accessible to them the first time on time? And so the way that we approach that inside of the Andersen Windows organization is we actually have a team that sits back at the main central office that works underneath of me. And we have a group of guided help authors, QA, and a team specialist. And she's really there to understand the day-to-day workings of the team, right? Making sure the work is getting done and making sure that we're hitting our objectives. And she understands eGain really, really well. But then we also purposely left people out at those remote call centers, out on the front lines. Because one of the things we know is that the contact center isn't always the first to know when there's a change. That would be great, but that's usually the engineer somewhere else. We tend to find out about changes because our customers are saying something isn't working, right? This process is failing, it needs to be modified or changed. And so by having these authors out on the front lines, they feel what the agents feel, and they're able to help us get to that corrective action sooner and faster. So how are we crafting the user experience? Well, first and foremost, we're attempting to clear away the fog. And that in itself is a journey. If we did nothing else, that would take a career. We are guilty, and we're trying to undo our guilt, but we are guilty of writing content in a language set that resonates with us, people in the window and door environment. And that is the exact wrong audience to write for, right? None of you, well, maybe some of you, but probably few of you live and breathe windows and doors the way that I do. So if I wanted to give you technical terms for all those things, that's great, but I don't know that that gave you knowledge. It gave you content, but content and knowledge aren't the same thing. So clear away the fog. Don't write for a PhD. My friend who is in training would tell you it's the 8th grade reading level. I'm happy when we're a sophomore in college these days. We're trying to get down. As John talked about, right, pictures are important. They communicate a lot, but be thoughtful about the pictures that you're using. We've been working really hard over the past quarter to re-image and revitalize out parts of our consumer web self-service, right? As we get the phone out of my pocket and we look to see what those images look like in both environments, there's plenty of pictures and different things that we've gone back and we've gotten rid of. We've gone looking for new things because it turns out it really wasn't asking the question we wanted to ask. It wasn't conveying the information we wanted it to convey. It wasn't that clear. And again, from the idea of windows and doors mean a lot to me, they don't mean so much to everyone else. So the picture needs to make sure that it really focuses in on the thing that's important. The content should be inviting. How many of us have ever gone to a website and it was full of so many things that it was just over-daunting and you abandoned it? You were there for the grand total of 22 seconds on a page load and you said, nope, this isn't for me, right? Well, oh, there goes the light. Content should be inviting, and clearing away the clutter is a way of doing that. When we started on our journey with eGain years ago, right, we said, well, what options should we go with? What should we do? And what we got back was, well, you might want to try this. We could try that, and we could try some other things. We took all of that in, and we said, well, how about we give everyone the chance to do whatever resonates best with them? If you want to search, let's search. If you want to browse, you want to browse. How about we give you the top 5 things that most other people want to look at, right? Too many options. We had that page full of stuff. And what we found out is that it was just overload. And so we're working on clearing away those things, making sure that we present the right thing at the right time. And through that, the hope is that when you land at knowledge, it actually is the right bit of knowledge and not content that you accidentally got to, and then you're not sure about why you're there. And then that content should inspire confidence, not only in the language choice within the article, right? Because there's always going to be some degree of diagnostic that happens in there. So at the end of that, you go through a process. We want to talk about how this is what your issue is. This is what your resolution is going to be. But your path to navigation to that knowledge can be equally as important as the destination itself. Because when you feel like you answered a couple questions that were appropriate, timely, and meaningful, where you land gives you confidence of saying, this is where I belong, and I'm ready to move forward. So what does that mean for us? What gains do we get out of using a knowledge platform, right? Well, we know that we get call deflection out of that. The absolute number for that is hard for us to quantify at times because there are plenty of things that influence out how many people are calling us at any given time. But we do know that we're getting deflection with that. We also know that we're getting improved caller experiences. So we could still be getting phone calls where someone has landed out on web self-service and maybe they just need a little extra nugget of information, a little affirmation that they're where they're be. Now that's a good cue to us that there's something there we could improve, right? But they're still utilizing the service. We also can go back and use the service to help the customer later on. So we can talk, they can call us first. We can say, I understand what your issue is. If we go out to the main website, I can show you where you can find this. And not only will I be able to walk you through it, there's going to be self-help videos that are there for you too, so that you can better see how to tweak this piece and make an adjustment here because things need a little bit of help. Or how do I replace that sash that has the broken glass because of my kid who just put the rock through it? All right, all of that is there. What that also means is that we can refer people out of the knowledge base right over to our online parts store. Now the great thing about that, and you could look at that and you say 600,000 hits per year. Okay, I like it. It's 50,000 a month-ish. 20,000 of them year to date have left the help center and gone over to our online parts store. Now, two things, right? Not everything that you come to the help center for requires you to buy new pieces, parts, and components. Sometimes it's just about how do I do something. The other great thing about it is those 20,000 who have left us and gone to the parts store, they feel really good about their chance of buying the right thing the first time. And because we give them a whole lot of content on how to do this work themselves, they can feel good and confident that when they get the parts, they're going to be successful in fixing that window on their own, right? So we really believe that that gives us a much better experience overall. I mean, who has ever gone to the hardware store and bought something, taken it home, looked at it, said, I might be in over my head? Let's go to YouTube and see if I can find a video on it. And hope, right? Well, I'd rather them buy the part and feel good about it and knowing that they can do it the first time. It also gives us the ability to have uniform answers. So uniform answers in the form of web self-service and in the call centers. And you say, yeah, that's of course it does that, right? But how many of us have called in to any place and I talk to Johnny and I get an answer? Now I call back in a couple weeks later, I need a point of clarification or whatever it is, and I get Stacy. I walk Stacy through the exact same issue, right? But I don't get the exact same resolution. I get a different answer this time. Now what do I get to do? I get to ask the question, did I get the right answer the first time, or the second time, or at no time? And so being able to get through that knowledge is really important so that we give out the right answers. And that those answers are in alignment to what the website says. Right? Who has ever called in and said, I saw this on your website and gotten back, really? That was on the website? No. That's outdated. We haven't done that in years. Oh. Well, I feel good about using your website now. That's awesome. Thank you so much. The other thing that this lets us do, right, is as I said, we have lots of people who call into the call centers, and we take them into self-service to help them see how it is that they can fix and do things on their own. But what we can also do is we can email directly out of the help center on the agent side and send it right to anyone's email and say, hey, when you get the part and pieces, here's a link back to the articles that you may find useful for the installation. And instead of it being static content that we're sending out the door that can get outdated, stored away, or whatever, it's always pointing them back to the help center. So when they go back to it, whether it's 3 years, 3 weeks, or 3 days, that content is always current. always meaningful, and as relevant as we can make it. This allows us really to work on the 3 times T is not equal to customer experience, right? And again, we get that through the agent confidence and in reduced training time. Because if you have confidence as an individual contributor that the knowledge is there waiting for you, you just have to be able to access it, then you don't have 2 months of product training. You don't have 2 months of downtime waiting to get a group of seasonal workers up to speed. It's now in the form of days and weeks. 2 weeks, right? It's not that it's training free, because it's not, but it is training reduced and confidence inspiring. And as I touched on earlier, the content management. So this is today's Andersen Consumer Help Center, and as I said, we're actively trying to make it more friendly, right? And more engaging and less daunting. You know, we put out our initial help center about 4 years ago. Prior to that, this would be blank, right? We had nothing. You had to call us. In our first major iteration of this, we said, you know what we want to know? We want to know what kind of products you have. Because if we know what kind of product you have, then we can better help serve you up knowledge to do stuff with that product. Conceptually, that idea makes a lot of sense. I'm going to argue it was the wrong choice. We have plenty of solutions that are product neutral. You don't need to know about the intricacies of the product in order to serve up knowledge. So what did I get? I got the opportunity to ask you a lot of questions that you didn't need to answer, right? So care and maintenance, certain replacement solutions. I don't need to know that much yet. Maybe I can get you to where you need to be in 2 clicks, not 7. Get you there sooner. And even in these, right, we can take you down through care and maintenance, and let's say 80% of it is product-ish neutral. Maybe it's door versus window. But if we figure out that you're down far enough that now I need to know about your product, that's okay, because we can drop you right back into the product identification modules that's within Visual Guided Help for us. So now we're asking you about your product in a detailed, meaningful way when it's relevant. On our storm door side, we came to eGain with a business case. We said, we have been producing storm doors for over 20 years. And one of the great things about every one of these storm doors is when they left the factory, they had a label on them. And that label had a unique serial number to it. And that tells us everything we need to know about this storm door. We said, that's great. If we already know what the storm door is, we should be able to get you information about what's most likely gone wrong with your storm door or what may need to be serviced, modified, adjusted, or whatever. Even how do I reinstall it? So we approached eGain and said, if we can identify the door, can you help us get them down to the knowledge quickly and effectively, right? And it wasn't an overnight solution. It was a partnership between the two of us to figure out how were we going to do this. And so what we arrived at was on the Andersen side, where we know a lot about our product, we were going to ask the customer, can you tell us about this door? Can you find the serial number? We'll give you a picture. We'll show you where to find it. And if you can tell us what that number is, we're going to get you to a real happy place really fast. And if you can't, that's okay. We'll let you go through another process to identify it. But when you can put that number in and hit submit, we can immediately drop you into our Storm Door Help Center. It's preloaded with the articles that are most meaningful and relevant to that person at that time. And so from the point that you hit the Andersen website, it's 1 click to say you need help, 1 click after you put in a serial number. There is no click 3 until you've decided which of these articles are most likely relevant to you. So 3 clicks and you're likely to be where you need to be from a resolution and solution point of view. And if you don't, again, if you don't know your serial number, they're stickers. They can peel off, or people can take them off. Right? We have other ways to help you down through that process too. So for us, this is really an ongoing journey. To have one last housing analogy out there for those of us who either own or have owned a home. We often pick a room in the house that is in the most need of some tender, loving care. Right? Needs new paint, needs new wallpaper, needs something. All right, I've been a homeowner for a while now. There's always something. You fix that room. As that room is ending, you've probably already scoped out the next room that is in need of attention. And by the time you have gotten through however many rooms you have in your house, but by the time you get through them, the odds are that first room that you started with is in need of attention again. And so it is not a linear path. It is a constant, ever-going journey to make sure that that information is there and is relevant and is easy to use. Thank you all for spending a little time listening to us at Andersen Windows and how we use eGain and the partnerships that we have with them. Appreciate the opportunity to be up here and speak.